Hi guys, it's Jessica here, and today I wanted to share with you 8 helpful tips in helping you purge your book collection. I recently just completed the KonMari category of books, and I came up with a list of 8 helpful tips that I followed in helping me purge my book collection. So I wanted to pass those along to you. So let's go ahead and get started. The first tip is don't approach getting rid of your books as, oh, I'm throwing things away. I'm getting rid of all this stuff. What am I gonna do? But I love this book. Instead, look at it as, I am making room for new things to come into my life. If your bookshelves are cluttered with books that you have already read or you've been meaning to read, and you don't have space for new books, then that means you don't have space for new things to come into your life and inspire you in new ways and promote creativity in new ways or give you new knowledge. So look at it as making room for the new, not getting rid of the old. The second tip is don't let your bookshelf define who you are as a person. Don't let materialistic things like your house or your clothes or the car you drive or the books on your bookshelf speak for who you are as a person. In the consumerism culture that we live in today, it is so easy to let yourself be defined by your possessions, but try everything you can not to let that happen. We really want to let what's inside of us, what's inside of here, what's inside of our heart, define us as a person. So don't feel like you need to hang on to these books to make yourself come across as well educated. So get rid of those books that are taking up room on your bookshelf so that you can feel smarter. Because chances are, if you read all the books, everyone's gonna know you're a smarty pants anyways. The third tip is ask yourself whether you can find these books on your Kindle or in the library. Now, if you look it up on your Kindle and the books are reasonably priced, I would just go ahead and buy them. It takes up way less space to be stored on your Kindle than it does sitting on your bookshelf looking a mess. So that is another option. Then you could also check out your local library. Make a list of the books that you're kind of iffy about keeping or not and see if your library has them. And if your library has them, well, let them do the storing for you. That way you have your list in case you ever want to reference it, but in the meantime, you don't have the book sitting there collecting dust. The fourth tip is get rid of outdated books. So when I started having kids, it's amazing. People just want to give you old clothes, old furniture, old books. It's like a drop-off center. So I had a whole bunch of well-meaning relatives drop off all these books about like kids' activities in the areas that we lived. Now, mind you, these books are 20 years old. Half the places aren't even open anymore, and there's a whole bunch of new activity centers, new farms, and whatnot that are now open. So the 20-year-old activity book, why did I keep it? I don't know. It was a terrible reference book. So just make sure you go through and get rid of anything that is outdated. The fifth tip is get ruthless with your to-read pile. Everybody has those to-read piles. I have friends and family members drop off these books. Oh, you have to read this book. It was so amazing. And you flip through and, oh yeah, this seems somewhat interesting, and you put it in a pile, and then you get another one and you put that in the pile, and before you know it, you have 20 books that you want to read. And the reality is, maybe you'll read one of them. So put a timeline on that to-read list, and if you don't read those books within the timeline, put it on your list of books that you may want to read in the future, but get the physical book out of your house. Get the clutter out of your environment so you can unclutter your mind. Wow. I think I had a little bit too much coffee today. The sixth tip is be realistic about those books that you are going to hang on to because you want to reread them. Now, you may want to read it again, but will you read it again? You really need to assess if it is continuing to serve you. If it has already provided you with the knowledge that you need, then it's not serving you any longer and it's time to let it go. Let it go. All right, no more coffee for me. The seventh tip is don't store referencing cookbooks that you never reference or use recipes from. I have several cookbooks because I love to cook, but some of these cookbooks only have like one recipe in them that I ever use. So what I did with those cookbooks was I photocopied the recipe and put them in a binder. There's no sense in having a cookbook taking up space, because usually they're pretty big if you only reference 1 or 2 recipes from the cookbook. So photocopy them and make a binder. And same with reference books. Are you ever going to reference it again? Because the reality is we live in the age of technology, and most of the time you can Google whatever you're looking for. Just be realistic about how often you use these cookbooks and reference books, and if it's not fairly often, then it's time to part ways. See ya later. And the 8th tip, which is essentially the KonMari motto, is does it provide joy? When you pick it up, do you get giddy? Can you not wait to read it? I have quite a few of those books. Mostly they're in regards to living simply. Thoreau's Walden, I absolutely love. Radical Simplicity, Simplicity Parenting. I find those books extremely inspirational and motivational, and when I feel like I'm getting off course and kind of getting sucked into the consumerism culture, it's sort of a nice, those books are nice, they kind of ground me and bring me back to like simple living. So I always come back to those. Those books really provide me with inspiration and motivation over and over and over again, which is why they will sit on my bookshelves forever, no matter how many times I read them. They make me happy, they ground me, they remind me of the type of life I want to live. So make sure you're only hanging on to those books, the ones that really speak to your heart and you really feel drawn to read over and over and over again, year after year. So those are my 8 helpful tips. I hope they will be useful for you in purging your book collection. I will be posting my actual process of how I purged my book collection in the coming days, so be on the lookout for that. And let me know down in the comments below. Have you purged your book collection? Thanks for watching today, guys, and I will see you on my next video. Take care. Bye.